Have you ever received a WhatsApp message that simply says, "We need to talk"? बस चार शब्द and suddenly your heart starts beating faster. क्या हुआ? Did I do something? Is everything okay? Why does this sound so serious? अभी सामने वाले ने कुछ बताया भी नहीं है, but your body has already started reacting. Heart rate increases. You feel a little restless. Maybe your palms become sweaty. You start imagining 10 different possibilities in your head. And the funniest part, nothing has actually happened yet. So, why did your body react? Why did you suddenly feel anxious? And why do different people react differently to the exact same message? For one person, "we need to talk" may mean, "okay, let's talk." And for another person, he may read the message and think, "oh God, ab kya ho gaya?" So today we are going to understand why this happens. And to understand emotions, we need to look at three major factors. Those three major factors are our brain and body, our thoughts, and our social and cultural environment. So let's start with the first one, the neurophysiological basis of emotions. Neurophysiological basis. That WhatsApp message is a perfect example. You read, "we need to talk," and immediately your heart starts racing. Why? Because emotions are not just something that happen in the mind, they also involve the brain and the body. A strong emotional experience can produce physical changes like tachycardia, meaning your heart beats faster, tachypnea, meaning your breathing becomes faster. You may start sweating, your muscles may become tense, your blood pressure may rise. You may even feel that strange sensation in your stomach. So, when we say, "I'm anxious," it's not just a thought. Your body is participating in that anxiety. That is why emotions are not only psychological experiences, they are also biological events. Your brain detects something important and your body responds. Now we understand the limbic system. Now comes the interesting part. Who is telling the body to react? This is where we come to the limbic system. You can think of the limbic system as the brain's emotional headquarters. या simple words में brain का emotional control room is limbic system. So imagine again, you read, "we need to talk." Your brain doesn't calmly sit down and say, "okay, let's analyze the grammar of this sentence." It immediately starts asking, "is something wrong?" Or "is this dangerous?" Or "is this good news?" Or "should I be worried?" Or "should I prepare myself for something?" And sometimes the emotional brain reacts before the logical brain has fully understood what is happening. That's why you can feel anxious first and only later realize, wait, maybe it wasn't even something serious. This is one of the most fascinating things about emotions. Our brain can react to the possibility of something before we know the actual reality. And this is where the limbic system becomes very important. It is a group of interconnected brain structures involved in emotions, motivation, memory, and emotional behavior. You can think of it as the system asking, "what does this mean for me? Is it dangerous? Is it pleasant? Should I approach it? Should I avoid it? Should I fight? Should I run?" So, whenever we experience an important emotional situation, the limbic system becomes a major part of the story. And within this emotional system, there are some very important structures we need to understand. These are the amygdala, the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, and the cingulate gyrus. And once you understand these four, you'll start seeing your everyday emotions in a completely different way. So now let's meet the first important member of this emotional team, the amygdala. If I ask you to remember just one thing about the amygdala, remember this. Amygdala is like the brain's alarm system. Its job is to detect possible danger and produce a quick emotional response. Let's go back to a WhatsApp message. You read, "We need to talk." And before you know what the person actually wants to say, your brain goes, "Oh, something is wrong." Now, maybe the person actually meant, "We need to talk about what we are ordering for dinner." But your brain has already gone into, "Oh God, what happened?" That's because the emotional brain is designed to respond quickly. And here's a very famous example. Imagine you suddenly see something that looks like a snake. What happens? Your brain doesn't first say, "Let me carefully examine whether this object has scales, eyes, and a forked tongue." No, you jump first, then you check. And after 2 seconds, you realize, "Arey, it's only a rope." So, this is the fascinating thing about the amygdala. It can react first and allow detailed reasoning to come later. From the point of view of survival, that's actually very useful, because if there really is a snake, you don't want your brain to spend 5 minutes doing that research. So we can remember amygdala is equal to detect danger, react quickly. Now we understand hypothalamus. It is the body response coordinator. Now the amygdala has detected something important. But simply detecting danger isn't enough. Your body needs to be prepared. And that's where hypothalamus comes in. Think of it as the body response coordinator. So again, we need to talk. You read that message. Your emotional system gets activated, and suddenly heart rate goes up, breathing becomes faster, you start sweating, muscles become tense, and your body becomes alert. Basically, your body is saying, "Okay boss, कुछ important हो रहा है, मैं ready हूँ." The hypothalamus helps activate the sympathetic nervous system and the body's stress response. And that's why emotional situations can produce such very real physical symptoms. So when body says, "Whenever I get anxious, my heart starts pounding," that is not imaginary. The emotion is psychological, but the physiological response is real. Now we understand the hippocampus, also called as emotional memory. The hippocampus is strongly associated with memory, and especially with memories that are emotionally significant. Let's go back to our WhatsApp message example. Suppose you've received messages like, "We need to talk." And one time in the past, that message was followed by an argument. So today, when you get the exact same message, your brain doesn't experience it as a completely new event. It remembers, "I've seen this before. Last time something bad happened." And suddenly your anxiety increases. That's the power of emotional memory, and this happens all the time. कभी कोई ओल्ड सॉन्ग सुनते ही पूरा स्कूल या कॉलेज याद आ जाता है. कभी कोई परफ्यूम की स्मेल आई एंड सडनली यू रिमेंबर्ड अ पर्टिकुलर पर्सन. कभी किसी जगह पर जाते ही आपको कोई पुरानी इंसिडेंट याद आ जाती है. So our brain doesn't just store what happened, it also stores how did I feel when it happened. And that emotional memory can influence how we respond today. Now we understand cingulate gyrus. Cingulate gyrus says, what do I do with this emotion? You can think of it as being involved in processing and regulating emotional responses. Because there is a very important difference between feeling an emotion and acting on that emotion. Let's say you read, we need to talk. You became anxious. Your first reaction is, oh no, something is wrong. But then you stop. You think, wait, maybe I'm assuming too much. Maybe it is something completely normal. That ability to become aware that what you are feeling and regulate your response is very important. And this is something we see in everyday life. For example, someone insults you. You get angry. Your first impulse is, bas, abhi jawab deta hu. But then you pause. Do I really want to react like this? Will this make the situation better or worse? That pause is extremely important. Because having an emotion is automatic, but what you do with it is where emotional regulation comes in. Let's understand the frontal cortex. It is the thinking part. The frontal cortex, particularly the prefrontal regions. This is where judgment, decision making, impulse control, and impulse regulation becomes especially important. So you can think of it like this. The limbic system says, I feel. And the frontal cortex says, okay, but what should I do? Your emotional brain may say, reply immediately. Your frontal cortex says, maybe don't send that message when you are angry. And honestly, haven't we all written a very angry WhatsApp message ever? And then we have read it again and thought, thank God I didn't send this. That little pause can make a huge difference. So, healthy emotional functioning doesn't mean you never get angry or scared or jealous or anxious. It means you can feel the emotion without allowing the emotion to completely control your behavior. So, now we have seen the neurophysiological basis of emotions, how an emotional experience is not just happening in the mind, but involves the brain, the nervous system, the hormones, and the whole body. We saw how the amygdala detects, the hypothalamus prepares the body, hippocampus brings in our emotional memories, and higher brain regions helps us understand and regulate our emotional responses. But here's the interesting part. Is the brain alone responsible for the way we feel? Not really. Because two people can go through exactly the same situation, have the same basic human brain mechanisms, and still experience completely different emotions. Why? That's where our thoughts come in. And then there's an even bigger question. Why do people express the same emotions so differently? Why does one person cry, another person stay silent, and another person get angry? For that, we need to understand the cognitive and socio-cultural determinants of emotions. And that's what we are going to explore in the next video. So if you want to understand how your thoughts can actually change your emotions and how your family, culture, and society teach you how to express those emotions, join me in the next part. I'll see you there.